excited about this show. Danny Tran is in the house. He is the executive chef of Ace Eat Serve in Denver, and now the owner-operator of Mile High Disinfectant Services. Danny, Thach. Thank you for being here.
I go either way, but thanks for having me on the show. You know, Ta is an industry professional that everybody knows me as Ta, but anyone who calls me Danny, I know is from like college and high school.
Right. Where you had to give them the Americanized name. I completely understand. So you have had quite a couple months, you know, coming up. High-end restaurants was always your scene. You know, I remember first hearing about you when you were working with Lon Semesma at Cholon and that dynamic crew, and you make delicious, beautiful food. Then when I heard you make this pivot, and when people talk about pivot, they make like micro adjustments. You took a complete 180 and started a brand new company completely outside of the kitchen, so to speak. And so I want to touch on that. For you, first, let's start with like what it means for you to be a chef, and then move us towards the inevitability of COVID and you kind of making what seems crazy and brilliant at the same time.
Yeah, you know, it's this whole COVID-19 has been not been terrible to us, meaning me and my fiance. But yeah, you know, growing up in Vietnam with a restaurant family, when my grandmother runs it, and carrying that passion on to my career here in Colorado as a chef, you know, it's kind of continuing passing on the torch and whatnot. And the restaurant life and hospitality has always kind of bred into me growing up in that. And working in Denver, you know, I always trying to work for the best company, the best chefs, the best restaurant to you know, make it worthwhile, you know, and yeah, and it's the industry has been very good to me, and I'm thankful for that, and a super supportive community as well of all the industry friends. It's a very small town, everybody knows everybody. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of my, you know, drive as a chef, and I want to continue that passion. It's not going to go anywhere anytime soon.
I absolutely love it. And so, I mean, talk about those early days. I just want to be inside the conversation of it's early on. So people are still like, you know, it's not going to be that big a deal. I'm sure it'll blow over. We might like shut down for a couple of weeks was even the conversation. And you said, no, this is a big deal. And not only is it a big deal and I'm going to have a major impact on restaurants, but I'm going to make a complete 180 and go into this different business because you saw and recognized the need and an opportunity. So talk about that first conversation. How does that even start for a chef to think about a disinfectant company?
I think it starts with any chef, actually. For me at Ace, it started with a health inspection. I would say 3 weeks before the coronavirus kind of got real serious, and then shutdown was like a real thing. And you know, we had a clean inspection. It was, thank God, and we sat down and talked to the inspectors, like, so what's going on with this like COVID-19 thing, and is going to hit us because we saw it, you know, there's a couple cases in LA and stuff in that health inspection. You know, like, we're not actually trained on that yet. We're still waiting for information. Blah blah blah. And you know, inspection's over. 2 days later, he sent us a kind of a report saying that, hey, you know, here's some disinfectant that you can mix with like strong bleach solution, this and that, for your restaurants, and start sending out signs and stuff for the restaurant that's mandatory to put up. You know, they can go on and put an order out on the city and the restaurants that you have to post up sign for people to wash their hands and stuff. And then in my head, I'm like, holy shit, it's getting a little real here. So I started sending all this information out to all the restaurants in the company, and then I started sending it out to, you know, my chef friends, you know, my fiance at Joe Hill and other restaurants, and my friends over at Cholon. I was like, you know, this is happening. You know, there's not enough people in the. I can see, like, you know, when you like, we freak out as chefs when we see health inspector. When he came in and gave me that poster, he was like a little freaked out on his face. Like, he's like, oh shit, like, you know, they have to go through every single restaurant in Denver to pass out these posters, and they just don't have enough people to do that, to cover that. And he's like, please, you know, send this out to your restaurant friends. I'm like, all right, this is getting serious. And I started doing research to actually disinfect our own restaurant. I wanted to be able to disinfect a restaurant quick and effectively. The only thing available at the time was peroxide from Ecolab. With that stuff, you spray it on, but you have to wipe down afterwards, and it smells terrible.
Yeah. So
and
bad.
and I'm like, no, there has to be more out there. And actually, another company that was uh, stopping by to a restaurant and offering a disinfectant service, and they were charging 25 cents per square foot. So Ace was a 90, about 90,000 square foot kind of space. It's a huge restaurant. And they were quoting me like $5,000 to come through and disinfect. And I'm like, holy shit, like that's
Yeah, damn.
I mean, even I was like taken back, and even when I showed it to the ownership of Secret Sauce, Joshua Khan and Emily Biederman, and they're like, that's crazy. There's no way. And as this whole transaction went through, they were sending me information on the chemical and all the stuff, and it's a little bit, pre-planned and stuff. And I was reading through all the resources on a chemical. I'm like, I mean, I know where to source chemicals. I know I work with chemical companies all the time in the restaurant industry. What most chefs don't think about that, right? You have the chemical training, you have the disinfectant training and sanitation training already, and you're already dealing with chemical vendors like the big ones like Ecolab,
Yeah.
and there are other chemicals vendor out there too. So I started reaching out. I found the chemical that the company that was offering us to do the service. I'm like, this shit is super cheap. Like it's like really cheap. And it's effective. I call up the chemical company, the manufacturer themselves. They have an EPA approval, number. They're registered. They are effective against coronavirus and flu and a host of other shit. You can check out our website at Mile High Disinfectant. MileHighDS.com, and it has all the information on all the stuff that it kills. And you just apply it with an electrostatic sprayer or an electric sprayer, and it kind of disperses this chemical as a mist, and it lands on everything and it kills everything in 10 minutes, and it dries up, and then there's no residue. You don't have to wipe down. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, this is great. We can use it all in our restaurants,
Yeah.
And then, and it was still the mandate to shut down all restaurants the coming Tuesday. And kind of the hard questions, or sorry, the hard, orders from our ownership team is, unfortunately, we have to close down, and we have to lay off all the employees. This is the same story that everybody has right now. And even Nick Kokonis, the owner of Alinea and that whole group, and he has more of a foresight. When I listened to his podcast, and he had his company Thach, the reservation, and he saw the whole thing already happening in Hong Kong, and then you kind of have to start putting some plans together, for yourself and your team and everybody else. And and I was like, and the ownership was kind enough to offer a lot of the exec position and management to continue to work at Steuben's. So all 4 restaurants shut down. Vesta closed, Ace closed, Steuben's Arvada closed. So Uptown Steuben was the only one that stayed open for to-go service only. And they were still figuring stuff out, and they did offer me to stay on. Very nice of them to offer me that to reduce salary to do to-go food over there. I declined, not because of I love the company and I'm going back to Ace very soon, but it's not my food. It's not where my passion lies, and I think the position is better left for somebody else who needs the money. And so yeah, I went home. So when they shut down the restaurant Tuesday, I think it was like March 7th or something. I can't remember the exact date. And I think that Sunday when I went home and looked at my fiance, and he was in the same boat where their restaurant would be shut down, and they're in a world of hurt too. They're a brand new restaurant, Joy Hill, really opened for a month before the whole thing went down, and the ownership, I feel for them. Like, I'm not an owner of a restaurant. I work for Secret Sauce, and I'm the exec chef, and I'm the paid, talent and management, and I can't even imagine what's going on in their head where they're bleeding me. But yeah, I looked at my fiance and like, what are we gonna do? So I had this business plan in my head. It's like, well, I know I can order these disinfectant. We already have accounts set up with these chemical companies, manufacturer or distributors. They're not even taking it on any more accounts because of everything's going on. They're out of capacity. So I was able to order a couple cases of chemical, found the sprayer online, eBay, Facebook Marketplace, like literally secondhand market, and Amazon wasn't shipping anything, you know, at that time. So we're lucky enough to have a couple on hand, train ourselves, did the chemical training with the chemical company, Spartan. They have like their online training thing that they do for all the people. Same thing as like ServSafe, you know, the restaurant, but that's a different program. And it just teaches you how to be safe with the chemical and protective gear and all that stuff. Very simple. And we that Sunday night we both sat on our computer and just back and forth and like, okay, I'll open the LLC. Do you want to open the website? So Dusty, my fiance, started the website. I got the LLC. And then the next day, Monday, we went to the bank right away, opened the business bank account, and then put $2,000 that all I have in my savings. I'm like, you know, it's a risk, you know, but I think there's a huge need for it. And instead of charging people 25 cents a square foot, we do 15 cents for like residential and 10 cents for commercial spaces. So, you know, affordable, you know, I think it should be, because I don't think restaurants can afford a couple $1,000s for someone to come in and disinfect their space, right? So like Hops and Pie, for example, is just a decent sized restaurant, and it's only like, you know, 100, like $200. And their space can be safe. It's coronavirus free, it's flu free, and it's safe for their staff, their guests, like, and that's how the whole business kind of got started. We went to door to we printed out pamphlets and stuff like that, old school, in our home printer, and walked to HR and Pacific Ocean, and, you know, just door to door. And then we started getting calls. And yeah, that's how the whole business kind of started overnight.
I fucking love it. Tom, it is the most entrepreneurial, hustle, swagger, grimy, just figure shit out. It is so important. Everybody listening, everybody in our industry, you don't need to go start a disinfectant company, but you need this mentality, this like figure it out, make it happen. Like there are no barriers. You don't know how to do those things. Like you don't know what those chemicals are at that scale, but you figured it out. I absolutely love it. And then it's like you started a dog washing business. I'm just going to print some crappy flyers on cheap yellow paper. I'm going to take it around and just see what happens. And now you have a viable business. You put your last $2,000 on the line. You trusted in yourself. You saw the need and the opportunity. Dude, it's so important what you're talking about. And I love it. And I love you're successful at it right now. Like tell people, like
we're busy. We're extremely busy. And you know, I'm always a doer. You know, I just can't imagine sitting at home and looking at employment. And for a lot of reasons, not because it's not okay, and I respect people who do, just because, you know, I have a family to support, myself, and also I'm in the middle of buying a house right now. And you know, Ace was so successful and so profitable the past 2 years. I'm like, all right, and I'm ready to buy a house. And this whole thing happened. You know, like I can't be on employment because you can't do that when you're buying a house. And the loan people are just like, no way, you know. So it was a lot of force behind it as well, but the business is going really, really well. We're getting calls from, you know, clinics, veterinary office, co-working office space, restaurants, homes, private properties. You know, we did a little bit for military as well, labs, and very secure labs. It was really scary to walk through, you know, military labs with like locked doors, and you have to be, you know, kind of supervised in every room. And then it's been 18 bank branches recently, the Blue Credit Union, and they locked into their contract, and we were all over Denver and Cheyenne, and we were staying busy for sure. And it's still a very small team, and we're lucky enough to had an investor come in and offer capital and wants to expand the company as well. And because, you know, they own 4 really successful yoga spa studio in Manitou Springs, and you know, Sunwater or Sunsmoke, and it's a beautiful place. And even she was like, I don't know what my business is going to be like by the end of the year or next year, but what you're doing is great, and I want to invest in that, and whatever you need capital wise, we're in. So we're super fortunate, which is that was like a week and a half into the new business. And we made our money back and more, and cover for all the costs. We don't owe anyone any money, no credit cards, and it's growing really fast. There's a need for disinfecting right now, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere soon, even hopefully next year or year and a half. So I'm definitely keeping that running on the side, and my fiance and business partner is going to continue to run that as I return to ACE in a few weeks to kind of breathe some life back in our to-go programs, and another ghost kitchen program as well called Happy Go Lucky. It's going to be like a poke concept at Ace Kitchen. So kind of trying to do what other restaurants are doing too, as many virtual restaurants as we can, and to-go orders until we can have some sort of normal service again, whatever that means.
Yeah. You told me that you were able to hire a couple people or gig out a couple people from restaurants. That was an important part too, is like your restaurant people, the family's hurting bad,
I had prep cooks and cooks and chefs that were out of the job and were bored, and we were able to. I brought my AM prep cook on a couple jobs, and other cooks, and one of my chef, Dan, he's a great talented chef as well, and he's like, I'm so fucking sick of sitting at home, like
please.
We're all doers, chefs, we have to do something, and we did it. It was fun, and we're like, as long as we get we're getting dressed up like Ghostbusters and making money, like, it's not that bad.
Yes. And now you're investing further into the company, right? We were joking about Ghostbusters. I ain't afraid of no coronavirus before we got on. And then you said you're getting fucking ecto backpacks, man. Like, what is going on with that? Tell me about that, because I can't wait. Honestly, everyone, I want to tell you, when we first got on, I was kind of disappointed that he wasn't fully in his gear, looking like a Ghostbuster. But I understand. He looks fresh in the shirt, but I really want to see the outfits with the backpack. Tell us what that is, because you're investing, you're expanding.
Well, first of all, the suit's really hot. That's the reason I'm not wearing it. It's meant to keep everything out and everything in. So, but they're just like painter suits too. Like, we couldn't find PPE, was super hard to source, masks and stuff. So we got creative. We got full body paint suits and goggles and masks, and then they work the exact same way. If you watch like Mythbusters, when they do like crazy experiments, they wear the full paint. So it's like, hey, we have that suit, and like it's the same thing. But yeah, the backpack, I guess, new technology in the disinfectant business nowadays that is booming. You'll be crazy to think. So Western Papers is a paper distributor that distributes restaurants. They're going into the disinfectant business because they're able to buy disinfectant machines, which I'm still have a weird feeling about that, because they were our vendor that are selling us chemicals. It's almost like, if Shamrock posts up a dumpling shop next to Ace, like my fiance said, and just open a dumpling shop and say, what's up? So there's some big competitors out there, and construction companies, restoration companies are going to disinfecting. So there's a huge competition, and we're just little guys. It's got started in the restaurant business and trying to figure stuff out with all that stuff. But yeah, we're ordering these backpack electrostatic sprayers from China, and they're backpack, they're cordless, battery powered, they're white, they have like a gun kind of style dispersing unit, and it looks like a Ghostbuster like backpack. They're not cheap, they're like $1,400 a piece, but they're kind of fun.
Oh, it's so good. Well, look, you guys have some charisma. I want to see some promo videos. I saw the one promo video you did, which was super nice, sexy, clean. It felt like a restaurant video, which I think is smart because it's what and it's also, a lot of restaurants aren't open right now, so they're not necessarily needing the services like a Hops and Pie, but they're going to be opening back up. Right. And man, does that feel like the company you'd want to work for? Because to your point, there's going to be a massive need, and the potential for restaurants to have a third party doing that kind of sets another level of trust and confidence in the consumer market. So I think it's very smart. And honestly, like, bring on those competitors, because the restaurant industry, we rally, man. Like, people in the restaurant business across Colorado are going to be like, nah, we're with Mile High Disinfectant because Ta and the Ghostbusters are our people. So I really appreciate that. I love it. I love everything about what you're doing in that moment. And now you're looking at getting back into the kitchen. Couple questions there. One, Are you sure? Because man, I bet you're making a lot more money doing the disinfectant work. And I know the answer to that question. So let's talk about that. Why for you, in a moment when you realize now that the restaurant industry is incredibly vulnerable, that you have another business now that I'm sure is more profitable, more equitable for you, less time, you're not going to work weekends and nights, all those things potentially, but it's important for you to get back into the kitchen. Talk about that dynamic.
Obviously this business is very profitable. I'm making, 8 times more than what I do as on an exec chef salary. But I think it's important for me to get back in the kitchen because that's where my passion lies. And I want to make sure Ace survives, and that's a lot of my food, my staff, my team, and I have an ownership team that trusts me to do all these in the past couple of years, and I don't want to just put that go away, and it's important to me to get it running again because I have faith that the restaurant industry is going to pick back up at some point and keep it running and still put out amazing food in to-go form as much as we can, and hopefully somehow, I think if you come into Ace, hopefully when we open back up, a lot of challenges with like ping pongs and paddles and disinfectant and all that, but as a disinfectant professional now, I know how to take care of all these things.
You guys are going to be extremely well positioned. You'll be the most disinfected restaurant, and you got a big restaurant. You got your work cut out for it.
It's very big.
Ping pong balls get touched by thousands of hands a day, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're working on new plans. Like, instead of reusable balls, we'll just give everybody 6 balls. It's like, this is yours. Play with it. Take it home. There you go. Those are in the works as well. But yeah, it's important to bring the food back and get the industry back up and running at some point. And instead of kind of using social distancing as some kind of barrier or a negative thing, I think for a big space, which we're fortunate to have a big restaurant, to use that in some form on a positive side of revenue. Like maybe it's like a private dining thing where you get your own bubble or whatever. You can Skype your server from your table or something. Whatever that means.
You're going to be creative. That's the thing that I know. I mean, with Secret Sauce, Josh Wolkin, Emily, Jennifer, the whole family, super smart people. And you now have this next layer of creativity that I feel is coming out of this. I know that you're going to be a better chef, a better leader, a better manager, a better operator because of this tangent that you went on, this path that you went on, because now you have some perspective that I think is important. A lot of times we're so in the shit all the time in restaurants, we never see the forest through the trees. So I'm really excited for you personally to see kind of how you now navigate being a chef in a restaurant, because it's going to be different. I know it is for you. And so that's very interesting.
It's a tough time.
When you get back into the kitchen the first day, what do you want to cook with your team? What is like one of those things like I need to feed my family with this food? What is something that's important to you?
We're definitely bringing lots of dumplings and baos back for sure. It's a comfort thing. So, yeah, that's definitely a first thing. It's tough time for the street right now, and I feel like everyone should feel like there are other ways to serve the community and help your friends and help your family. There are things to do, and give back to the community as well. So, just don't feel like you're so helpless. There are resources and people out there to help. So,
yeah. How excited are you to get back into the kitchen and cook with your team? Right, the banter. I'm sure there's not as much yes chef heard behind when you guys are disinfecting, or maybe you guys do. Maybe you're like cooks at the grocery store. When you walk by somebody at the grocery store, you say behind, and they go, "What?" You guys find yourself still with kitchen jargon. I love it.
I've been joking around it all the time. We still do it at home when I'll cook dinner. I'm like, hands, and then he'll like run. And I miss being in a professional kitchen. I miss my team, and cooking at home is fun. But it's my small home kitchen. It's me and my fiance, which has been great. But
sure.
I miss cooking in a commercial kitchen. It's like I need to fry. You
like the pace, the heat, the busyness of it, the camaraderie. I'm also very interested how you end up navigating the space as you're wearing masks in a kitchen now. That creates another layer of challenge. You are trying to create more space and distance and less rubbing of shoulders and elbows in the kitchen. So you feel like you're more well prepared to handle some of that because of this training, this additional training you have now?
No, I do. I think as chefs, I think we're all, like I said, we're already trained on how to sanitize and do disinfect and clean all the time. I think we just have to add a small layer of, wearing a mask or bandana, whatever it is. Sure, it's gonna be hard to breathe as fuck, but and then some plexiglasses here and there to keep people from sneezing. But do understand, like, germs will always be out there, and hopefully we can contain this COVID-19 specifically. But there are masks out there that have been in the industry for a while. The culinary world. If you look at Hong Kong and stuff, sometimes when you go there, they have these kind of clear face shields a lot of cooks wear, and it kind of covers you up to your nose and mouth while you're cooking, and it's much easier to breathe. It just protects you from sneezing or talking and spitting into food. And I think masks are fine, but we're going to have to get creative with all that too. I think Josh has some kind of branded, those key kind of mask stuff in the works from when everybody returns to work. So, incorporate some of that in there, more hand washings, more signs up, disinfect more frequently, all that kind of stuff. So just, kind of dialed up the chef mentality of cleaning and sanitation a little bit, and add disinfecting in there.
That's so great. All right, Todd, we always end with some playlist items, whatever that is for you. So if you're listening to, reading, watching, playing, anything like that, are there things that you're listening to that keep you motivated, that energize you? I especially want to know, do you guys have your own Spotify playlist for when you guys go into a business? And I know Ghost is playing on repeat.
That was a great idea. We definitely should put one together. We don't have one currently. But recently I've just been doing a lot of, I'm in the dicing house, a lot of alone stuff. Aquaponic gardening is kind of a huge personal favorite of mine. I have like a tiny fish tank aquaponic garden set up in my office with like tiny fish and stuff, but it's working really well. And then just been listening to a lot of podcasts as well. From Nick Okonis from Elena Group, his podcast on how their restaurants are dealing with the whole coronavirus thing is a huge eye opener for a lot of us who really feel like connected. I mean, if the best restaurants in the world, the best chefs in the world are going through the same thing and putting out to-go orders as well, and I think we're all in the same boat.
Yeah, and they've been very clever and showed a lot of leadership as there's been waxing and waning about who and how is the leadership happening within the industry at large. And so I think they've done a very good job. I'm definitely watching what they're doing. So, and now you've put yourself out there as a leader in the industry of a way to like reimagine how you support the industry. I think it's very smart, Todd. I really appreciate it. And I know that restaurants are going to continue to appreciate the work that you'll put in, because you're going to help them be successful, because we need and absolutely have to be hyper aware of what it's going to take to keep people safe, purely keeping them safe, and also giving them the level of transparency and trust and confidence in you as an operation that you're keeping them safe. So they know that you've put yourself through the ringer to know exactly what it takes. So Tom, I'm grateful for the conversation and the work that you're doing in the hustle, man. I love it.
You. Yeah, then after Mile High Disinfectant Service goes in and do disinfecting, we give you a poster that says, your place is disinfected and virus free, so your guests and customer feel safe and your staff feels safe. And I think that's the point of safety. And we want to regain that community trust again, where you can feel safe being in a room with your friends and your family. So hopefully we can develop new systems to where we can put in machines and disinfectants at each restaurant so they can disinfect themselves to save on money and those kind of ways, so they can do them themselves.
That placard's going to become as iconic as the letter A in the windows of restaurants to show their grade from their health inspections. That kind of, you don't really see them anymore, but I think it's going to be important. Or, people have like, we're Zagat rated, we're this, we're that, we're, a top 10 on TripAdvisor. A new designation that's going to matter is exactly that. So I can't wait to see those too. I feel like you guys need a video on those. Brand the hell out of those. I love it. Todd, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. Have a great day.
You as well. Cheers.
So people are the best. Aren't people just the best? I'm just so struck, so inspired by people like Yume Tran and Danny Tran, that it was total coincidence that today we very much were visiting some really inspiring people originally from Vietnam. Very, very smart. What Ta is doing, what those guys are creating, I think is very important. And not only is it important and a need in this moment, I think it's really important. And I was really impressed with the ability to say, you know what, I'm a chef. I love restaurants, love food. It is my passion, as he said. Yet in this moment, it's going to be a struggle, and I'm going to figure something else out, and did a complete 180, not a pivot, a complete 180 into something very, very different. Yet he still had the fundamental understanding, training, expectation from his years and years and years of sanitary techniques and using a lot of those chemicals. So I'm so impressed. I don't have any smart words. I'm just impressed with people. I love it. Grateful to be able to talk to them and share just a little bit of their story. Tomorrow's episode, I'm rocking and rolling right now. This might go down as the best week yet of this pandemic, and I don't say that lightly. I'm just grateful. Josh Nuremberg, chef owner in Grand Junction, Colorado, of Bin 707 Food Bar, Taco Party, and Bin Burger is going to be on. I will say it unabashedly. My favorite chef, owner, restaurant operator in Colorado, in this country. I just am so always heartened by the way that Josh views the industry, views his community, views his people. His food is ridiculously good. His team, Ryan Sylvester and everybody, amazing. And they get the nod, the extra little mile to be one of my favorites. My favorite. I said my favorite. I'm sticking with that because they are complete fermentation nerds, just like me, because fermentation equals flavor. That's it. Tomorrow, noon Mountain Time. Appreciate you.